Hello and welcome to another episode of the Reality Check here on Talkin' Jets. What is going on? Matt O'Leary alongside Jets Chaos, Jeremy. Jeremy, how are you, my friend?
What's going on, my friend? How you doing? This is game day. This is the time to be excited. This is the time to be enthusiastic. This is the time we're finally going to get over 500 and be 2-1.
So right away, I got to toss up the Dano comment. I might have my mom's spaghetti on my t-shirt when we're set to kick off.
He's nervous.
He's nervous. I'm rocking. So he asked, what's your fit? So I'm rocking the 92 Sean Ellis jersey today. Why? One, he's one of my all-time favorites. And number two, one of my favorite moments from Sean Ellis was the sack in the playoff game. He had a huge play in the playoff game up in New England. So it's Patriots week. Always got to rock the Ellis jersey during Patriots week. So that's why I'm rocking the 92 today.
Huh, love it. I love it. I remember Sean Ellis. Great Jet.
Very, very good Jet. Underrated, I might add on top of that.
Yeah. Like he's not brought up or spoke about enough.
Nearly enough. No. Chrome S, are you going to this game? I will not be. I'm doing a live stream 6:15 to about 7:30 for some pregame. And then I'll be hopping on with Jeremy and Green Bean at the half. So at some point, around 10 o'clock, 9:30, something like that, halftime?
There'll be a tribe of us tonight. We're mixing crews. We got the Thursday Thick of It crew combined with the Reaction Watch Party crew. So
I've heard that Gunny wears his emotions on his sleeve during a game. I don't think I've seen him on a Green Bean stream yet. Have you been on with him for a game day?
I have. He has filled in, for not with me but I've watched it. And I'll tell you this, one of the best Jets content videos I've ever seen was Gunny. It was his security camera. And it was footage from his security camera, the game where the Jets came back and beat Cleveland at the very end.
Okay.
And it basically shows him running out of the room he was in watching the game, screaming at the top of his lungs, and his kids and wife almost like jumping and almost falling down in fear, and because they didn't know what happened. They thought the house was exploding.
I gotta find that video. I would absolutely love to see that. Just Gunny's reaction to it. So
it's an absolutely unbelievable. And then he played like a video of it, like with sounds. And man, he was screaming for joy.
That's absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, I figure we start there because it is a Jets game day, and we have storylines that we can get into in this one. But just how are you feeling on game day? Obviously, about 5 hours from kickoff. What's your vibe, and what should we be expecting in this?
Wow, I always have this clash of the fear of all of our trauma and everything that just goes wrong every time we're excited. And then the part of my brain that just knows that this should be the week. And we'll talk about some of the issues that New England is having. We talk about injuries and things like that, their offensive line. We'll get into all that. But it's just that the difference in roster is just night and day. And there's just, even with the injury to JJ, even with some of the struggles we've had, there's just no reason why in our home opener that we shouldn't break out. And I say break out, even with the win last week, it wasn't a breakout. I'm still waiting for the breakout. And when I say breakout, that means our offense takes over a game and dominates, and we start seeing multiple like 30 plus points type of thing. And we finally put our defense in a position to pin their ears back and put the pressure on another team to take away their option to run and force them to go shotgun and have a second half where we're just going crazy, terrorizing Jacoby Brissett.
I love that. That would be, I think, the dream plan is you get up to a lead early in this game and make the Patriots throw their way back into it, because I do think they have a very good run game. Ramondre Stevenson has had a solid start to the season through the first two games, and their run defense, I think, has performed really well, especially last week against Seattle. Now, Geno kind of threw all over them, so I think they're susceptible to the passing attack, but the run game, they've been very, very stingy. We have our first super chat that I want to get into. Thank you, Golden Robert, for your support here on Talkin' Jets. He says, let's start here. What happens when New York Jets are home favorites on primetime television? Patriots run 200 yards rushing off the edge. Oh boy. Okay. So that's what we were just talking about there. The Jets run defense, they're going to have their work cut out for them against Ramondre Stevenson. Are you concerned that the Pats are running for 200 tonight?
Not 200. I mean, look, if you're still having like the effects of the San Francisco game, I get it. The Tennessee game, if you really watch it, they are built and have a very good running game. We took a giant step up last week as far as run defense. We did. Like, we were much better. Like, you take away the scramble of the quarterback, they're under 100, the two primary backs, right? What's his name? Pollard and
Spears.
Together, they're under 100 yards. Their average isn't too high. I mean, we weren't great. We weren't dominating. We weren't what we were last year and what we're trying to get back to. But we were much better than we were against San Francisco. I see every part of this team getting better and it coming together. It's just we got off to this shaky start. Now, like Salah said, he's fixing it.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up the box score while you were talking. That's what I was doing. From the game last week, they ran for 130 yards. They averaged 4.6 yards per carry. Calvin Ridley ran for a touchdown. But I think they did a relatively good job with the running backs. Pollard, 3.6 yards per carry. Spears, 3.3 yards per carry. They got gashed on one play from Ridley, and then there was a couple Will Levis runs that he was able to tuck away and run with it. So I think that inflates the number a little bit. But we've seen Stevenson and the Pats have pretty big numbers and rush for well over 150 yards in a game. I think that's going to be their game plan, right? Is to try to run the ball. And if everything goes their way, they put up 200 yards. But I want the Jets to put them in a spot, as mentioned, where if they get out to a 7-0 lead, or if they're up 10-0, into the second quarter, the Patriots aren't going to have that luxury where they could just lean on the ground game. Because I don't know if you've looked at their numbers, Jeremy, but essentially the entire offense is Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry. They do not throw to the wide receivers. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about that more than anything else. I always worry about screen passes and the short stuff like that because our defense is that's how you beat our defense, right? I mean, the most frustrating thing is the amount of space we give, and we give teams on first down 5, 6, 7 yards, whatever you want, take it. Covering Hunter, covering Henry, screen passes. The run game, they, just to get a little detail, the Patriots have 2 offensive linemen out. We see that Breece Hall's not effective running the ball if our offensive line isn't blocking well. So I don't care who their running backs are. They don't have the duo we have. If their offensive line isn't completely healthy and we stay on the path that we are, like of improvement that we did against Tennessee, I just don't think they're going to be able to establish a running game. I don't care who their running backs are because you need an offensive line. And we know when you start, your offensive line starts to be decimated and you're putting substitutes in. It's not just the talent. It's not just the downgrade in talent. It's the chemistry of their offensive line. So if they're missing 2 starters, you're talking about the chemistry of their offensive line is not going to be the same. They've got problems. I also think we're going to stack the box. I mean, we have to stack the box against them. If not, you have to take. I mean, then we have to take the coaching staff and just have them committed into a mental institution. I mean, you have to stack the box when you're going against New England. There's just no question when you look at that roster. You have to dare Jacoby Brissett to beat you with his arm.
Yeah, and I like Jacoby Brissett. I think he's a good game manager, spot starter, backup quarterback. But he's not making the throw that Will Levis made for the touchdown pass to Calvin Ridley. But if you give him the underneath stuff, you are asking for trouble. So that's the thing. I don't want them to play back and play small. They've done that sometimes where they're just played a little bit on the smaller side. But I think Jamie and Sherwood with his speed, I thought they looked really good in the second half. With Mosley out. Quincy Williams and Jamie and Sherwood, I thought, showed off their speed. and sideline to sideline ability in the second half of that Titans game. So I would say look for that again tonight against New England.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter S. He says, Jeremy looking slick and Matt in a classic uni ready for tonight. Things you just absolutely love to see. I love this comment from Gator as well. He says, Jeremy, can you put that Jets cowboy hat on? The glare off your head left a burn-in pixel.
That would be so insulted to our boy Johnny Boy, because that is the hat of his people. And like he would be so insulted. That is not a cowboy hat. That's a sombrero. Picked up
Jet sombrero, baby. That's fire.
That's right. That's from Mexico, made custom made. Don't think that the guys that were walking on the beach had those hats and already had a Jet hat made. No. That was, here's what I want you to do. If you come back tomorrow, I'll pay you double what you're asking for those other sombreros, and we'll buy a Jets one from you. And he came back the next day.
Look at that. Wow. So you got a custom Jet sombrero on the beaches of Mexico.
I got a Mets one also. I got one for the Mets as well. My wife got one for the Yankees, but that Yankee one didn't have to be custom made. They were holding those.
They had those classic, the national brand. I'm sure they had a Cowboys one too.
Yeah, exactly.
Big ones. So
absolutely.
I love it. Gator, you're the best. Appreciate you. Here's one that Seeds mentioned. Says 8 in the box, make them throw. That's what we were kind of just hitting on right there. I'm sorry. A black garbage bag with some ice. Gator said. Oh boy, that's unreal. I absolutely love it. Peter S says, presume Holmes is elevated for tonight, but of the UDFA sitting in the first week, Watts or Taylor, whom do you believe is active tonight? Any thoughts on this, Jeremy? Whether the Jets will activate one of those two guys with the absence of Jermaine Johnson?
Well, definitely more likely be Watts, because they've already activated Holmes again for the third straight week. And Holmes has actually been one of probably our highest PFF graded interior defensive linemen. So since you can only escalate him a maximum of 3 times, Frankie from Flatbush was pointing this out, it's very likely that we officially sign Holmes to the 53, and it will definitely be Holmes tonight for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Now I'm wondering too if we see Eric Watts, because obviously they lost someone on the edge, and I think he was someone that they really liked a lot going into training camp. He makes the roster obviously, but is sat. I don't think McGregor has necessarily popped off the page in the first 2 weeks. So I'm thinking maybe Eric Watts is active tonight. And I know Holmes was elevated. They did that one, but I'm wondering if we see Watts active tonight or if he's another healthy scratch again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's always, that's the fun of having a lot of talent in your roster, because having the kind of coaching staff that will change it up based on what their scheme is going to be and what they need. So it's you wait until you see who's the 48 that are dressing, and you look to see the 5 who are not dressing, because it changes. And, that's something we can have fun predicting every week, and you never know. It's just based on the strength of the other team. They, they might bring up Watson, or they might even bring up Taylor and say, we're going to need even more help on the inside. It's just, maybe Watts is viewed as better than McGregor as sealing the edge against the run.
Good point. We got another super chat. Thank you so much, Golden Robert, hanging with us. Says Sauce will be on the sideline because he can hold the edge tackling. Big trap letdown game. Sauce will be on the sideline because he can hold the edge tackling. I guess he's pointing out that he's not tackling well. Yeah, but I would put him on Hunter Henry, where like in his first career game when he was put on Mark Andrews for a decent chunk and shut him down. I'd be using Sauce Gardner against Hunter Henry. And
definitely.
And like for me, can the Jets, yes, the Jets could lose this game theoretically, but I'm not looking at it and be like, hey, my 2-time all-pro cornerback isn't great at tackling, so I think this is going to be a trap game. Like I don't understand the connection and why you want to bench Sauce over that.
I think we have a tremendous overreaction. I mean, this fan base, we just overreact to things. mean, we're talking about a Hall of Fame cornerback, a guy who's future Hall of Famer. We're talking about who came into the league. He's been the best since he's gotten here. And he had a bad game. I have no idea why. Maybe he got shaken up because of that one play. He looked distracted. It could be a million things. Everybody, I mean, you're living in a pretend world if you could sit there and say that you've never had a bad day at work. That you've never been like, or whatever you do in your life, that you haven't had a bad day. You know, like when you played sports, that you didn't have a bad day. I don't know what caused it. We'll never know what caused it. It was a bad game for him, probably the worst in his career. It doesn't mean that I'll have anything to do with tonight. As a matter of fact, he'll probably come back motivated, alert, and like as a wake-up call, and we'll probably see the best version of him.
I am in complete agreement with you. So Sauce Gardner in his career has started 35 games for the New York Jets. Of those 35, he has maybe 2 bad games. Dallas last year and week 2 against Tennessee. And Tennessee, I think it's fair to say that was his worst game of his career. And I think he would be the first one to tell you that. He gave up, the numbers are 5 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. It's not a good day. It definitely isn't. But
yeah. And it took a miraculous catch.
Right.
Like in a weird circumstance when it went through our safety. It was a weird, where it was like from his perspective, because we don't know how it looked if you were standing right in the spot he was in, but it probably looked like the play was over, like his guy was there. It probably looked like the most unlikely thing to have happened. I mean, we could barely see it happen. We said, did he catch that? Like, it was just a freak kind of play, a great play for them. That's what it took to beat Sauce Gardner for a passing touchdown. It took a freak play like that you'll see how many times in your lifetime.
Which is, we also mentioned 35 games played, I believe, the number 35 games played. I think that is like his 3rd touchdown that he's allowed in 35 games. So, obviously, look, I think come on. Sauce is broken cover only guy. That's the point. That's what a cornerback's job is. They cover the wide receivers and make sure they don't catch the ball. These people are way too concerned about interceptions.
I can't believe anybody would be down on Sauce Gardner. Yeah, let's trade and bench the best cornerback in the NFL. I mean, come on. I mean, let's be reasonable. I mean, like, you're not going to be happy. We have like the best cornerback in the NFL, and we're going to complain about it.
Yeah, at worst, even if you're at absolute worst, he's like the 3rd best corner in the sport. Right. I think he's top 2. I think it's him and Patrick Surtain are in a league of their own. But again, at absolute worst, I won't take anything seriously that puts him anything less than 3rd in the NFL. Right. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, Golden. I appreciate you. I can't say that I agree with this one. There are probably about 100 things that I could list off about this football team that I'm more concerned about than Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that we have down is our secondary. It's the last thing I'm worried about. Sauce, Reed being healthy, that's a concern, his health. But having Carter II, having Stigler, having Eccles, I mean, geez, that room is beautiful. I mean, that's the last of our concerns. Let's worry about JJ being out. Let's worry about our defensive line. Will we be able to consistently put pressure on the quarterback against bad teams, but against great teams, like against Buffalo, against Josh Allen, the teams we're really going to have to put pressure on the quarterback in order to have a realistic chance. That's what we're worried about. I'm worried about our safety, Chuck Clark, who's looked like hot garbage. Yep. That's what I'm worried about. If I'm sitting there worried about Sauce Gardner, I may as well stop watching at that point.
Green Beans hanging with us. All right, let me go back to Jet 41. I didn't read the message. Dion didn't tackle, and he did okay. It was a good comparison there, right? Obviously, Dion, not great in the run game, not a good tackler, dynamic player. Green Bean hanging with us says, some fans are literally impossible to make happy. We win and it's a fluke. We lose and we need to fire everyone. Make an all-pro. You're now required to be flawless. Makes it extra fun. It's yeah. I mean, Bean, I think is spot on here with this one. There's no pleasing everybody. I think we're learning.
Well, never. I mean, we have people fire JD still and blah 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 and blah blah blah, and he's so bad and they show his record constantly, and it's like, have you been watching this team for the past 20 years? Have you seen since 2012 specifically the rosters we've put on the field? It's like, look, if we don't make the playoffs, he probably will get fired. It'll be more because of the coach. And if that was to end up happening, which I don't think it will, but it would be more the coach that he would go down for more than it would be a roster. I mean, I haven't been excited about a Jets roster like this since what, 2010 roster, 1998 roster, 1983, 82, 83 roster. I mean, and then of course 69 for the old timers. I mean, there's about 4 rosters you could even compare to this one.
Let's go to Super Chat Jetpack 615. Thank you so much for the donation. Let's get this W, boys. JETS, Jets. Jeremy, did you know? I'm sure you did. You're a good Jets fan. The last time the New York Jets beat the Patriots at home was week 16, 2015. That's almost 10 years ago. The last time the Jets I was at that game. A 20-year-old Matt O'Leary was at that game going ballistic. I was in the end zone. Shout out my childhood buddy Kyle Macrodakis. So you went to the game with him. He had season tickets in the end zone, and we watched Eric Decker catch the game-winning catch like right in front of us. It was epic. Last time the Jets beat them. That changes today.
You know, I mean, we'll find any stat or any piece of information we could lose to get ourselves put in a shithole, right? Right, we haven't beaten them at home in all these years. Right, but before last year, we hadn't beat them in years at all. We beat them 7 months ago or 6 months ago, whatever it is. We just beat them 7-8 months ago on their field, and we just owned them. Now, some people might say it was on purpose. It was because of the draft thing. I don't think Belichick looked happy on the sideline. I don't think that it was on purpose. I think we just beat them, and that was with a much inferior offensive line, and of course, that was with a much inferior quarterback, and that was sans Braylon Allen. So now we're coming with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, a much better offensive line, and a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't know what everybody's screaming about. We should win this game. Their scariest defender who gave us nightmares and fits is gone.
Yeah. You said it, man. You said it. I'm with you on that one. Also, remember when people were upset? I'm not going to name any names, but there was an uproar when the Jets won because they would miss out on someone like a Olu Fashanu, because with that win, there's no way that Olu Fashanu was going to make it to pick 10 for the Jets. And then they traded back a pick and took him at pick 11. So sometimes you don't know, man. Just like, I don't know. Let's let it play out sometimes before we go like buck wild about wins and losses at the end of the year.
Yeah, there was a time, and this is what's making me, especially based on how we're ranking teams at that point, because at that point, you're right. Dom C basically at that point was making his point that you have to be in the top 6 to get one of the guys we need, and he wasn't wrong. In that moment, the way everybody was projecting the draft, you had to have a top 6 pick to get either. There were only 2 guys we were talking about: Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu. Right, and then there was Marvin Harrison. We weren't even talking about Odunze, and that it was Neighbors and Harrison. It was Alt, Fashanu, and there were some quarterbacks. And it's at some point at that year, it was like the magic number was we had to be in the top 6 to get any of those guys. And like you said, we walk away with Fashanu at 11.
It worked out. Joe Alt looks awesome, by the way, but we haven't even seen our guy Olu, who I think he looked pretty good in training camp in the preseason. So I'm excited to watch him on the field in the regular season at some point. Hopefully not tonight. I want everyone to stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Tony S. Guys, thanks for the great content you always provide. You're welcome. FYI, I'm in Penn Station now, 5 hours before kickoff, and Jet fans are starting to build in here. Good sign for tonight. Jeremy, I don't know about you. Like I have a little bit of FOMO, but I think I'm very excited for week 4, the next week. And I think Jet fans are going to bring the energy tonight. I think it's going to be a rambunctious crowd.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine? I mean, we talked about what if they were 2-0, but even at 1-1, winning last week, we know, it's so funny because online you'd think we have the worst fan base, so fickle, always complaining, always this and that. And then you fall in love with our fan base again the second you walk into a stadium, or the second you walk through the parking lot at the tailgate parties, and you realize we're the greatest fan base in the world. Yeah, we're nuts online. I am too. We type crazy stuff. I say crazy stuff. During the game, I say crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, We're the best fan base in the world. And when you walk into that stadium, I feel so good for the first timers. You know, we got some first time, people that watch. Nick from Proud New York Jets fan got a couple of guys to a game, their first game. Next week, we're getting, there'll be some guys going to their first game. The first time they get to hear what our fan base sounds like when you walk into that stadium.
That's so cool, man. I to be able to hear that for the first time again, right? Like it's just an unbelievable experience.
And that's after 12 years of losing no playoffs. Can you imagine how it's going to be as we accumulate these wins and we finally get over that mountain and we're a playoff team? Can you imagine? It just depends. Can you remember what it was like back in 2010? I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be a frenzy.
Now, I do have a surprise for you, Jeremy, that I could play on the show here, and a surprise for everyone in the chat. So if you give me a second here.
I love surprises.
You're going to love this. I have.
You going to pull out a giant soft pretzel for me with honey mustard?
Not quite that good, but almost as good. We have Gunny's reaction to the game-winning Garrett Wilson.
Oh, yes. They're watching Green Bay.
Oh shit! Oh my god! 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 Oh shit! Oh shit! Let's go!
It's the greatest thing ever, man. Nothing is better than this.
This is what it's all about. Still going. The best part is he just comes out of nowhere.
I know, he just pops out like a
so good. I hope we see that tonight.
And let me tell you something. The second greatest video ever to ever be on Instagram or YouTube was, at least if you have this kind of sense of humor, and I found it the funniest thing, when we played Green Bay. You have Gunny's wife and Gunny standing, and they have this giant screen TV in the living room on the wall, and they're both standing behind the couch, yelling at the TV, and she's bitching about Davante Adams not being there and how they let him go. She's like having a different conversation. I can't believe and we're beating them, and Gunny, and behind her back, Gunny is making like gestures, making fun of her. It is the greatest thing in the world. And let me tell you something: if you know his wife, if he would have gotten caught, there would be no Gunny right now.
he would be getting his ass kicked.
Absolutely,
that's for sure. Absolutely love it. This is what I want to see tonight. I have one more video, and then we can get back to it. But this next one is what I want to see. Ready? Let's see if you remember this one.
The tight end pass. Does he have it in him? In the corner. Oh my God, Garrett Wilson's a fucking
That was great.
That was my all-time favorite. Greavy just jumps out of his chair and goes, Garrett Wilson's a fucking animal. And then a second later, you and your brother see it.
I know, we're like 2 seconds behind him, and then you see us just go absolutely ape shit. That was such an emotional game too, I'll tell you. But you want to watch a fun reaction? I haven't seen it yet. I got to find the clip of it. I was hoping Greenby would send it by now, but he's a busy guy, so I'm not picking on him. But the reaction to Braylon Allen's touchdown run.
So the 24/7 to make it 24-17. I'm gonna have to go back.
Greenby kind of brought back the, that's my boy. Like right when it happened, I was screaming. I prospected him because I loved him in the draft. And once Green Bean heard that go, he's your boy. Like, he encouraged me. And I went, and I just like, yeah, that's my boy.
Oh God. I'm gonna after this. I don't know if we could skim through the live stream now on air, but I'm gonna have to check that one out later. I definitely want to see it.
Shame on me for bringing up things that you're not prepared to.
No, but look, I was doing it on the fly. Dano said it earlier. I'm not gonna toot my own horn here, but Dana was saying that something like Matt's the what do you call it? I can't even find the comment now. Come on, he gave me some praise, and I'm scrolling back too far. But he said that I was good at multitasking. Moral of the story. Oh, here we go. Matt is undefeated at multitasking. There we go. See, on the air, producing a show, finding clips. We're doing the damn thing out here. That's what we do on Talkin' Jets on every Thursday at 3 o'clock. Just so happens that it's a game day today. So any nerves at all? Like, where are you in that department? Like, is there anything that's concerning you about maybe a loss here?
I mean, maybe every Jet fan out there can understand this. I have this pit in my gut that lives in my gut that is always there because I'm always afraid we're going to be brought back to that place. Like when JJ went down and I knew he was out for the season. Like I could have went and thrown up in that moment, right? Yep. I mean, it's just these things that happen to us. And that is always gives me like, even, as the game's starting, I always feel it. It's always waiting for something horrible to happen, or even though we know with our brains, theoretically, we should be able to very easily win this game. It's so hard to believe that we're not going to just be able to go out and beat these guys. Yet there's this thing about us where you're just so afraid we're going to get stuck in that quicksand, this team, and that we're just going to watch it and it's not going to make sense, and we're just not going to be able to stop the run game. And offensively, we're just going to not, keep run pass, and it's not going to work. Like it just happens to us, so I don't think I'm ever going to be free of that.
Jeremy, I think this deserves the sounder. I got to find it, but hang on, let me see. Oh yeah, here we go. Breaking news. I think we have our first ever positive Modine comment in the chat. He says, get the win, rest up, and face the bum Broncos next after a good break. That's got to be the most positive Modine thing I have ever read in my entire life here on Jets YouTube.
I never thought I'd say this, but I really hope Denver stays with Bo Nix and doesn't bench him yet. Because believe it or not, as bad as you think Zach Wilson is and how great of an easy quarterback he'd be to play against, there is no better scenario than going against Bo Nix in this league right now. He is the absolute worst quarterback right now I've seen in the NFL in a really long time. He would be very welcome to come, very welcome when we're there to watch Bo Nix play. Now, Zach Wilson, it's a different beast because we know you roll the dice 1 out of every 10 times a real quarterback shows up. I don't want to take that chance. I just want to play Bo Nix and dominate Bo Nix.
Yeah, so the Bo Nix numbers, not so great. I'll pull them up. Against the Steelers, 57 completion percentage, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 55.2 rating. Seahawks, 61.9 completion, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, 47.5 rating. I should pull up like the actual, hang on. Why don't I type it in over here? Let's do this, because his like yards per attempt are crazy low. Like they're just really like bad quarterback numbers. Yeah, like 3.3 yards per attempt against Seattle. Yeah. 138 yards on 42 attempts is that like that. That's really hard to do. If you throw the ball 42 times, you should be well over 200 yards, even in bad performance. 138 yards on 42 attempts.
This is with a head coach who got something out of Jameis Winston. This is the guy who made him look good. I mean, this is a coach that made every quarterback he ever coached look good. He has a tight end that he used to let play quarterback sometimes that made him look good.
Yeah. And Gator makes a good point too, by the way. When a lot of people bring up the Zach Wilson thing, Zach is the number 3. Jared Stidham would be the next man up.
Oh, so wow. Well, I don't mind playing him then. I don't mind playing him.
Right. But, that's the thing. Like that quarterback room stinks.
Well, it's funny because he talked about Knicks. He was celebrating Knicks. They were interviewing him like, how did you know? Oh, we had it. They were celebrating like he was already a superstar, like he had done something. They were talking about Zach Wilson like we were out of our minds, and Zach Wilson was the next freaking Brock Purdy or whoever you want to compare it to, Brett Favre, right? And yet we're watching Knicks. He stinks like I knew he would because in college it was very evident he was going to stink in the NFL for the same reason Zach Wilson is not having success, because if you watch Bo Nix, anytime he was under any pressure, he was horrendous. And then you see what he said about Zach Wilson, and then Zach Wilson can't even beat Jarrett Stidham out for a job. So either Sean Payton was trying to build up trade value and then build up hope and excitement for the fan base, or he's lost his mind and he's done as a coach, and he's like the worst talent evaluator I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know how we watched Bo Nix for like 5 years, it was 6 years, 7 years, however long he was in college for, and decided that he was a first-round pick.
I mean, look at the numbers of every quarterback that plays for Oregon, like the Ducks, every one. You know why they're always good? Like, look at the current quarterback. Look at his stats. Do you know why they're so good? Because they have 5 minutes in the pocket.
Yep.
They have receivers, and like there's certain teams that are built and recruit certain players, and 90% of the competition they play is incredibly inferior to them. So they're, so basically they have all day to pass, and they have receivers that are wide open. And you just can't use that as evidence of whether a quarterback can play in the NFL.
It's tough, man. It's a tough look, but there you go. Rico has got a fun fact. Let's toss him up on the screen. Fun fact, teams are 5-24 on Thursday night after playing a game that went into overtime the week before.
Yeah.
That's a great stat, Rico.
I was very happy when I saw that New England game go into overtime. I said it right away to Green Bay when it was pointed out. I said, oh, that's good news for us. Overtime for New England before a Thursday game. And it went deep into overtime.
That's what I was just going to pull up. Yeah, there was 4 minutes and 37 seconds into overtime, I believe the field goal went through. So almost half.
I thought it was less.
Oh, no, maybe it was. I might be
wrong. There was only like a minute and a half left. I thought it was at the end of the game. Like it would have been, if they missed it, it might have been a tie game.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. You're right. You're correct on that.
People don't think that means anything. That's a lot of extra reps, an extra 10 minutes.
It is. That makes a big difference. And, because people were talking about the Jets playing, the Monday night game in week 1, and then Sunday, and then Thursday. That's a short rest. But New England played one day earlier in week 1, obviously on Sunday, but they also played an extra quarter. So I feel like it kind of evens out with the rest there.
Yeah. And it's much, I think, like going into this Thursday, we're coming in after our first win. We've showed improvement. We have a lot to feel good about. First week, they're on a high. They beat Cincinnati. They shocked the world. And then they lose at home, a heartbreaker for them, right? I mean, overtime, a close, hard-fought game. Not just so many extra reps, but hard-fought, like emotionally draining type of game that ends with their head down. There's a good chance that this will be the New England we expected for the next rest of the season, and they're just going to be this, this team in rebuild that's not really going to be much of a threat to anyone.
That'd be nice. Ryan Rivera says, I'm sure you mentioned it, but New England's offensive line has been hit hard by injuries. That's definitely something that we could talk about on here because they are missing their left tackle. So it's a rookie left tackle starting left guard. And the center, David Andrews, who we all know, is banged up in this one. So really the whole left side of the offensive line could be an issue, which makes me think that number 99 might have another big game tonight, like he did in week 2. What say you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, can you imagine if he gets even 1 sack tonight, right? If McDonald gets a sack tonight and has 4 for the season after 3 games, there's going to start to be a buzz. And suddenly all the people look, and I'll never talk about the pick and what we needed at the time. I mean, like, forget about like the position. But there were people who turned us because people thought we're upset we picked an edge. They took it out personally on the player. And that's what Green Bean is always screaming about, how unfair that is. Like, to blame the player. Like, it was never McDonald's fault that 90% of the Jets fan base didn't think we needed an edge. But that doesn't stop the most important thing of a draft. I don't care what position you pick. The number one important thing in a draft with your first round pick is to hit, is to get a guy, even if you pick the position of least, need, you have to hit, right? I mean, you can't waste years where we've seen that. We've had so many busts. The worst thing for an organization is your first round pick is a disaster and is a bust. So everybody took it out on McDonald. People hated him. He's a bust. They ignored the fact that he had a great win rate. They ignored the fact that he barely played last year, didn't have a lot of snaps. So they just looked at the one stat, the sacks. Everybody was down on him. Watch how fast things change if he gets a sack. And if he gets 2 sacks tonight, it's going to be out of control. I mean, it's going to be way out of control, probably too much to the other side.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to have him as a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, right. But which is so funny because week 1, it was to strip 99 off him. He doesn't deserve to wear that number.
Right.
and now it's like, hey, he basically, there were other factors too, but he was a big part of a huge win in week 2. And when you lost Jermaine Johnson, stepped up, final drive, was the closer in that, like, that's why the Jets drafted him, and he needs to do it again. There's pressure on him this week. There is, because as we mentioned, there's the left side of the line is really in trouble for the New England Patriots, and it's going to be up to Will McDonald to be the one to get home. There is no Jermaine Johnson. There is no Hassan Reddick.
Well, the one thing we know now is he's going to get the reps, so that's no longer a problem. He's going to get the reps. There's no excuses. He's going to be out there. He's playing against a vulnerable opponent. So I agree. There's pressure on him to repeat and to do something. I do want to point out, and I think it's a great point that you made, forget the first 2 sacks of that game. The critical thing you have to look at is, and this is what you look at when you look at future stars, guys that, you're really happy about, are the ones that rise to the occasion, the ones that don't disappear when the game's on the line. And it's the timing of that sack. That last sack he got was in the most critical part. It's when we needed it most. And that's what we could be most excited about, is when we needed it most. That's when Will McDonald stepped up.
I agree. That's good stuff. Peter says, prediction for tonight: Jets 27, Patsy 16. Quinnen gets his first sack. Mike Williams gets a long touchdown from Rodgers, and D gets 2 turnovers. That sounds nice to me. Would you sign up for that?
I will sign up for that every single day. And, and I'll pay the extra, I'll pay $20 donation or whatever at the firehouse for the pancake breakfast.
I love it.
And I'll eat your pancakes too, because I know you can't.
I can't.
Or
Yeah.
Better yet, because I love you, I'll bring some gluten-free pancake mix.
This is why Jeremy is the great co-host, because he's going to go out of his way to hook me up. I love it. I would take 27-16. I have it. I'm at 24-20. I think this is going to be a sneaky tight game. I hope it's not, though. I would rather the Jets win by double digits for obvious reasons. And I do think, while I just predicted that it would be a tight game, I think there is a path for the Jets to get out to a lead and run away with it. If they receive to start the game, go right down, get a touchdown, defense looks strong, and then they get, like, let's say, a field goal on the second drive, and they're up 10-0 early in this game, I don't think New England is built to work their way back into that kind of football game. But if it's a grind it out, we're going to run the ball, eat the clock, like, that's exactly what New England wants, and they'll hang around to be a lot tougher than we think.
Yeah, I think the key to the game is we can't let them get 4 or 5 yards a carry. We can't, like, on first and second down, we have to stuff their run, and we got to get off the field on third down. We can't let Hunter Henry, have a day where he gets 10, 11 receptions and 8 of them are third down conversions. We cannot have a day like that. Got to get off the field on third down. So it's like it's both things. It's like all of that combined. It's got to be first and second down, whether they do a screen pass, whether they run the ball, we hold them to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and then we actually get off the field.
We got maybe somebody who's at the game or on their way to the game. We got people fired up in the chat. Now I lost my place. Don't you hate that when you scroll in StreamYard and then you lose your place?
I hate it.
Here we go. Oscar the Grouch. There we go. Great name, great profile picture. Matt, I'm fired the fuck up, bro. Oscar, I am too, buddy. I am too. Hopefully you're on your way to MetLife or just, trying to cruise through the last hour or so of the workday before heading home and catching this Jets football game. I'm pumped up too. Let's see what else we got hanging in the chat here. We got another prediction. Pugot. I don't know how to say this name. Tonight's prediction. Peugeot. There we go. Tonight's prediction. Jets destroy Brissett, who leaves the game. May comes in and lights them up. I don't like this one. I don't like this one at all, actually.
I don't like it at all. I think there's I think there's a reason May didn't look. Some teams would have said, let's use Drake May and get him experience. He's the future. We're in a rebuild year. I respect New England and Mayo's decision. I respect the decision of, it's really easy to say that. Like, it's a rebuild year anyway, so who cares? Let's just let May get his bumps and bruises. I don't agree. I think there is something to when you throw a rookie out there when they're not ready, it stays with them. Like they see the ghost, like the Sam Darnold thing. Like, I think it's real. I think you could hurt their career by using them before they're ready. And I think like guys like Caleb Williams, because of the way he's being thrown in there and he's clearly not ready, I think it's going to take his toll. Like it's going to make it, even if he was, I think Patrick Mahomes is a great example, right? I think it's just the most awesome classic example. Jordan Love is a good example now of letting a guy learn, like the old days, like it used to be. Chad Pennington, right? He didn't just start his first game, but by letting guys learn how to be pros without necessarily being thrown to the fire game one, So I think that they're being very smart with Drake May. Either that or he's not that good because he can't be Jacoby Brissett out for a job.
that could be it too. It brings me no joy to report that the Modine positive streak has come to a close. As he predicts, those scores are a little high. I got Pat 17-16. It was a nice 15 minutes. I enjoyed that, but listen, everyone has to come to reality at some point. So Modine, there we go, 17-16. Dino's there, by the way. He was the one waiting online to get in.
Amazing.
The fans are fired up here. I can only imagine. As I said, I hate the drive home from the game so much. It's such a pain that it really takes away from the experience as a whole. But there's nothing like that feel in the parking lot before the game. That's just a feeling that you can't describe. You got to be there and see it.
I can't tell you the level of respect I have for you getting a hotel room. So
I mean, it's just, because I want to go do content. I want to, after we get off the field, because next week we're going to the game. We're going to get it to go on the field after. I want to do videos. I want to do content, man. I'd have to wait like 4 hours after that.
Yeah. Whether I go to the game with Knobcraft, because his hotel's not far from mine, so he might grab me, or I just might take an Uber to this rest stop that Green Bean passes and he gets off and scoops me up. I like that I'm staying in New Jersey and I don't have to worry about it. It's just, I don't have to drive either to get out. Like I sit in the passenger seat or in the back with my eye, take a nap. But it's like, look, it's like anything else when you go to these stadiums and these arenas, man. It's like for some people don't care, but a lot of us, man, it's freaking anxiety for that, have to deal with that stuff.
Oreo says, what scenario would you prefer? The Jets defense pitches a shutout and an offensive struggle, or offensive balls out, but defensive struggles? Which scenario would make you feel better about this team?
None.
Yeah. The answer, the real answer is neither. But like, what are we talking? So is it the shutout? Like, is it like a 3-0 shutout, or could it be like a 17-0 shutout? 16, one offensive touchdown and 3 field goals. Can that count? Because I would take that.
Yeah, I think that if I had to gun to my head, I have to say that I'd rather see the offense continue to struggle and not be there yet than the defense struggle against Jacoby Brissett and this offense. Because if our defense struggles against this offense with a beaten up offensive line, replacements in there, Jacoby Brissett is their quarterback, no wide receivers. If we struggle against them, and like, even if we win, but if we win 34-28 or 34-31, if you gave me that game, I'm seriously thinking, how in the world are we seriously going to compete when we start playing the top teams? Like to me, I would be kind of devastated. Like, at least with an ugly game is an ugly game. You know what I mean? Like you said, if you win 13-3, if you win 9-3, something like that, it's an ugly game. But your defense played really well. And for whatever happened, your offense didn't click. At least, then you just say, okay, next week, hopefully we figure it out. But defense, man, I don't think we could afford to see the defense give up 4 touchdowns or multiple touchdowns to the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I don't want to see this as like if this is a 35-30 game or something like that, that's going to make me feel uneasy, because we've seen the Jets offense score 3 touchdowns. They did it each of the first 2 weeks. If they don't look great, but the defense, pitches a shutout, I think I'd be most happy with that, honestly. Let's do, hang on. There's one that I wanted to get to. I hate that I always scroll past these, and that's on me.
I want to say in general, I'm going to start to really worry if we don't win easily and beat them on both sides of the ball, because I'm not thinking about, just winning a game and having a winning record this year. I really want them to be great. I really want to have a playoff a team that's going to not only be a playoff team, but can contend and push to the later games, to the AFC East champion, like that kind of team. And I'm going to start to really doubt that they're, if they don't start getting this together, that we could be that team.
Coney, the GM's hanging with us. He says AR has a lot of rust. I'll say if this is rusty Aaron Rodgers, I think the Jets are in a really good spot, because I don't think he's looked horrible. There's been times where he's clearly missed and maybe been a little bit gun shy. Like he had Garrett Wilson deep and then decided to try to throw a check down instead. That ended up being an incomplete pass. But if this is AR with rust, then I think the Jets are in a great spot. And I don't see this lasting that much longer.
Well, a positive way to look at it is this is not inconsistent with most of the seasons in his career.
That's true.
If you look at his tendencies and his career, he's well known for getting off to slow starts, specifically game ones in his career. If you just go through each year of his career, look at the game log, game by game, and look at the first couple of weeks, and then look at week 8, look at week 9, even week 3 and 4. Look at the difference, and you'll see. Not every year. I'm not saying every year, but I think overall, someone aggregated the numbers and showed that he's typically a quarterback that gets better as the season moves forward.
I agree. I like this one from our guy, Brian. Not having to flinch when your quarterback throws a ball is such an underrated thing about having Rodgers. It's true. There's like a weird confidence that I've never really had watching a Jets quarterback before. Anytime Geno or Darnold or Zach Wilson were dropping back, or, any of them, pick out of a hat which one. It was like this, when it wasn't a handoff, it was something could go catastrophically wrong on this throw, and I'm scared to see what's happened. And then it's like a sigh of relief when it's a completion. Now I think he should complete this pass. Like, this is going to be fine.
There were completions he made that I don't remember us having a quarterback that can complete, like the go routes of Breece Hall. Like, Zach Wilson only threw into the end zone deep when it was exactly 53 yards, because that was how far he could throw a football. So it worked out perfectly when he was in that part of the field. I don't know if he had the ability to adjust and throw an over the head in stride throw that was 20 yards, 25 yards, like a different distance. It's hard. Maybe Fitzpatrick, when he had that great year for us, was making plays like that. But it's been few and far between. And It's not the only pass of that game. The one completion, the 19-yarder, the Mike Williams. When's the last time we had a quarterback who can make that throw? Like, he's just already been making passes that I just have not. They're foreign to me as far as a quarterback in a Jet uniform.
Yeah, no, that's there's throws, the touchdown passes that he's had this year. At least 2 of them. Maybe not the check down to Braylon Allen, but I don't think any Jet quarterback that started last year is making either one of those throws. Jets from Indy's hanging with us. What's going on? We got a few minutes left here before the top of the hour. He says, we're getting a W tonight. Jets 27-17. Let's go, Jets. Hell yeah, man. 27.
I'm only okay with that if one of that 17 is really 10, but it's like a garbage touchdown or a turnover by the 2-yard line.
I like that. There we go. It's 27 points. That would be the third straight game that the Jets offense have scored 3 touchdowns or more. When was the last time that has happened, man? They only did it twice in 17 games last year. And they didn't do it until like whenever the Texans game was.
Yeah, I honestly, it's a, and a lot of people pointed out, I think it was 15-2 is the record. If we would have scored over 21 points a game last year, our record would have been like 14-3, 15-2, something like that. There was some crazy stat out there that all we needed to do was score 22 or more points a game with the same defense. I don't know if this is going to be the same defense this year, so I think we have to up the number. But if we're consistently scoring 24 or more, we're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm with you on that one. We got a couple score predictions in here. Game Master 27-16. He says, I'm seeing a lot of 27-17, 27-16 kind of scores. I would be very happy with that if the Jets win by more than 10 points tonight. A double-digit win at home. The Jets being 6-point favorites in this game is even something that I'm not used to seeing.
Yeah, and to me, it's like it's more. It goes beyond and look beyond the score, like looking inside the game, right? Sometimes the score doesn't tell the whole story. I want to just beat them for 4 quarters. I want a consistent 4 quarters where we beat them, where our defense outplays their offense, our offense outplays their defense. Of course, I expect special teams, but that's not even the important thing right now for me in this moment, because overall, I'm not worried about special teams. I just want to outplay them on both sides of the ball consistently for 4 quarters. Sometimes that equates to big blowouts because the other team pressures themselves and makes big mistakes. And sometimes it doesn't because they're conservative and they manage to keep the game close. I just want to outplay them for the entire 4 quarters.
I love this one from Moteen. Vegas is nuts. Beat the Pats. Bet the Pats. Become rich. Modeen's cracked me up today. Sometimes Mo gets on my nerves, but Mo, I'm in a good mood today. Maybe it's because it's game day, but he's cracking me up today.
As much as it doesn't seem like it, if you look at the Jets over the last 20 years betting the spread, it's the same as betting against for any other team. The numbers always aggregate to the middle. The odds makers and like with the point spreads must be the biggest geniuses in the world, because it always comes to the middle of the needle.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's the whole idea. Like if it didn't, it'd be a lot of bookies in trouble. They're making their money on the VIG. They're like the bookies make their money on the VIG. They're counting on 50-50 that the odds are right half the time.
Exactly. You nailed it. Dano has a question. Thoughts on Salah stating that a big portion of his offseason homework was playing well during Thursday Night Football? Well, I don't know if that being the big thing, like that's not my biggest concern with him. It is a concern, but how about, can part of tonight and playing well on Thursday Night Football also include 1, better game management, and 2, not so many undisciplined penalties? That would go a really long way to me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like having discipline would be a great thing to see, but it's got to be consistent, like through more than one game. It's a start, but it's got to continue. Like it's got to be, something that we as a team. I mean, we can't have the penalties that we've had the first couple of weeks. We can't have that, like and be like it's going to cost us. Like in a big game, we're not going to win the big games. Like we have to fix that. That's like another thing that has to be fixed.
And 3, showing up ready to go. Good one, Palakar. That's also a good one. This might be my favorite score prediction of the day. I'm going to pull it up. Jersey Jet says 136-12.
Yeah, there it is.
It's possible.
There it is.
Got him.
There it is. I'm a happy guy if that happens.
I love it. I think that's the perfect way to end the show right there. 136-12 final score prediction. We've reached the hour mark on our program. Jeremy, any final thoughts for this game before we head out of here?
Hey, man, I expect to win. Logically, on paper, everything tells me And everything I feel is honestly that this is going to be our breakout game. Like, as far as we're finally going to get to see the team we've been waiting to see. I really believe that we're going to see the team we're waiting to see. And when I say that, I mean an offense that could score more than 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, or maybe 5, like 4 touchdowns, like 34 points tonight or 37 points tonight, and hold them under 15 points and get a dominating win and look and start to see what this team could look like. I think that the rust has got to come off. One of these games, we're going to see that the rust came off. And I think it's going to be tonight because we just played on Sunday. And I think that playing again, while difficult in some ways, it's going to get the rust off of us. So because we're used to playing again.
I love it. That's going to do it for us in this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Matt. He's Jeremy. And we'll catch you next time.